Good evening, everybody. Excited to be here. I got an invite and a snapshot that told me that you guys are really the movers and shakers of this area. And I'm quite excited to be presenting and talking to you in here. The memo, it's just, I think it doesn't do justice because I believe you guys are the innovators. But a life of an entrepreneur is something else that I'm quite interested in, to say, what does it mean to talk when we talk about the life of an entrepreneur? What does it look like? I myself, if I start, I don't consider myself, that buzzword of an entrepreneur. I just see myself as somebody else who sees the need and just try to get to the need. And in so doing, all along, I was thinking, entrepreneur is somebody who has to have a product and sell a product to other people. But actually, it might be more than that, because we realize that we're in a gig economy. Entrepreneurship is all about attention. Because I'm coming from the old school, I always thought that entrepreneurship is I must have a Coke and I must sell it out. But it clicked on me today, this morning, when I went to go drop off the kids. And later on this afternoon, then I made a little video for myself to say, actually, being an entrepreneur is understanding what people actually want from you. So once you understand what people really want from you, and you can be able to answer that, I think you are doing very well as an entrepreneur. From around here, I think I've heard that most of you are doing your own things. You have different mindset. We're reading the same books. We have different mindset, but all of us understand the word entrepreneurship differently. And I will start by maybe splitting it up into two, if you allow me for like 15 minutes. The first one is the word that we know, the one that starts with an E. That's the one that all of us are identifying with, which is entrepreneur. But I don't want us to dwell on that one. I want us to dwell on the entrepreneur, the one that starts with an I, entrepreneur. I know lots of us have read the book and we understand the difference, but just, give me 5 seconds just to make me go through my thought process. The one that starts with an I, entrepreneur, is what we do at work, whether it's working for yourself or working for somebody else. But there's the mindset to see and seize an opportunity. Most of us that are in here, I know by virtue of who you are, you would be called students. But in real life, others are like myself, I'll touch on myself just now, are working for somebody else and would like to storm out. And you don't necessarily call yourself a business owner or whatever, opportunity seeker. You're just calling yourself an employee. But the one with the I says a person who's employed, but is able to seize a moment within the company itself, to see the opportunity and be able to thrive. And that is the most important one that I would like to talk about. Because as much as in here, we're all talking about the one that starts with the E, I want us to remember the people that are still employed are waiting for a breakthrough so that they can start their own business on the side. So a little bit of my story. I grew up in Welkom, is in the middle of the Free State in South Africa. And I came to Johannesburg in 2005 as a student. I did my student thing. And before I left high school, I had a little spaza shop inside. And I was selling like knickknacks and keeps, small things to the boarding people, because I was staying in boarding in a hostel. And as I was doing my matric, before I came to varsity, I wanted to ask my mother so that I can open up a shop. I saw myself having a big shop, but my mother couldn't have it. And she said, you are going to university. The reason why my mother could not have it is because my mother was a hawker all along. And she said, life of a hawker is tough. Some of us, we call ourselves entrepreneur with an E, But in essence, we are just doing what my mother was doing, just hawkers. And she said, you'd rather go to school than to become a hawker, because she was a hawker. Went to school, I got my first degree. It took me 5 years and not 3 years. And I started working for my brother's business in 2006 as an accountant. I got few friends. I became few of his friends, and I started, doing their books. But in 2008, I decided, you know what, I'm tired of the small businesses. Yes, they are tenderpreneurs, a famous word in South Africa. They are tenderpreneurs, but I don't want to associate with those people. I wanna learn, the professional route. And I went and I started working for a bank. I worked for Nedbank, and there I started working in finance, because remember, accountant, finance, they're all linked. I jumped to another bank in 2011, which was ABSA. After a year, I went back to Nedbank. I only stopped working for Nedbank 2 weeks ago. So this is my second week out of being employed. And by definition, you can just ask yourself, you're not an entrepreneur, you're just you are just an employee who's got a long service of employment. But I'd like to say, when I'm reflecting now from 2008, when I started with the bank until today, I managed to get 7 university qualifications, and the highest one being a master's in development finance. And I know you guys are quite keen to do the SDGs. You are doing wonderful. I've spoken to a few of the people that attended this. And the second key thing being, I've tested with coffee shops and I've learned things from failure. I've tested getting finance from banking, trying to sort out some of the businesses. And I know all of those things. And right now I'm in the journey where I've had an idea that I was ignoring for a long time. And right now I'm doing it. And this is not called entrepreneurship. It's a new word that I'm going to put into the spanner, the third word. It's called solopreneur. I think you guys have heard about it. But before I got into the solopreneur journey, let's go back to 2009. 2009, I've been working for a year. I decide, you know what, this is not working out for me. I'm in finance. I hate books. I saw some other guy who's doing MIS, and I said, I want to be him. In there, I started value versus whatever that is, to speak to my CFO to fund for my second degree. They are crazy. And I know in here we won't call it entrepreneurship, but I managed to get value for my benefit. And I went for a second degree. And then from there, I went for my third qualification. In 2012, I had 3 already in my bag. Same way, I go over, I present value, and I said, this is what you're gonna get. This is what the output is gonna look like. Not only am I growing my employee salary, but I'm also growing my skill set. I think 2013, I thought, you know what, I already got a big head. I got 3 qualifications under my belt. I'm gonna start a coffee shop and I'm gonna leave the bank. And I love this story because it's a lesson from failure. I'm just gonna tell what the end result of the story looks like. In there, I went and I took 200 and something, about 250,000 rand. And I opened up this coffee shop. Why a coffee shop? Because at home, we're always famous about making cookies. We give them to everybody for free. And I thought, let me just sell cookies by a bucket. That was my idea, simple thing. We take cookies, like by the side of the road, they're selling cookies there. I wanted to do that, but you order them. Because my second degree was in IT, I wanted to create like a website, people order, and then there it goes. I do my advertisement, and people order and it goes. And what I did is I pitched this to what most of us are doing. I pitched it to my family, because those were the people that are around my circle. I'm still coming to a life in a day of an entrepreneur. Those were the people that were in my circle at the time. I was surrounded by family. Family told me, no, you need actually a storefront. And I went and I created a storefront. got this expensive thing. I think it was 12,000 rand a month at the arcade. So the Rea Vaya had just started not so long ago in 2010. Where the Rea Vaya stops, which is the BRT's bus, you stop there, people are running out. As the people are running out of it, they are passing through this arcade. So arcade, if you don't know what it is the narrow passage that everybody goes past, and it's got shops on the side. So I picked one of the shops. I thought food traffic in here, I can never go wrong. And I got that. 6 months down the line, I had to close the shop, had to tell 5 employees that we're not making it. Our December month was the best month. I think we made 60,000. And I said, we need more than 60,000 to break even, because I got pressure. They were crying, they were everything. I mean, they started accusing it themselves that the one at the till was the one who was stealing the money. You know how it goes. I think you guys are not new to that. But I had to make a tough exec decision to say, I'm gonna close off the shop. You guys are not serious. I told you from the word go, I work for the bank. This is your guys' shop. It's not to make me money. So I closed the shop, and it took me forever to pay up for that. And ever since, I've been doubling to be scared to come into entrepreneurship. It's only now that my wife, ever since our baby were born, she started the business called, she just put the stuff on YouTube. Back then, it wasn't called influencer. It was only now that she got into an influencer, and she got our whole family into an influencer space. And while we were there, starting to see that we're actually getting more deals and we can make a living out of it, just to document our lives, things that we like, things that we don't like, how the kids are growing up. And I thought, wow, this is really it. And my wife was coming back to me to say, but I've been telling you, you're sitting with 7 degrees. There are people who need to know, what does it mean to have 7 degrees? And what do you think in your head? So right there, you can see there's a product. The product is information. So I come through and I say, okay, I'm going to start this. I'm going to do 1 video a week on YouTube. I'm going to make it into, like a podcast type of a thing. So people will come, I'll tell them what to do. And I said, I need a catchy name. I'm just going to call it Being an Analyst, because it's about how do you become an analyst. The reason why I chose Being an Analyst is my wife helped me. In the first video, I make the speech, but it's quite important. My wife told me, you are what people pay you to become every day. And he said, what do people pay you to do? And I said, they pay me to be an analyst for a big bank, and I'm sort of to disclose myself. Maybe you guys don't disclose here. I was getting paid over $1 million, 1 point something. And I said, I'm getting paid to just sit there and make financial data. I don't even own the data. I just sit there and I'm like, that one is not gonna make it. And that was it. And she said, then you are an analyst. You are what you get paid for. And I started this channel, but it was becoming very difficult on me. I got the product, I have the idea. It was becoming very difficult on me, because I'm thinking, I got a salary down here. I got school fees of my kids. I cannot double with this thing called YouTube and influencer nonsense. I need more than 20,000 a month just to pay for the school fees for the kids. I don't have time for this. This is wasting my time. It is later on that some push happened, and I'm going to disclose a little bit of my push. Lana said, I know I said 20 minutes, but I'm 2 minutes over. I had a little bit of a push. A push was, I always thought that at one point I will be able to run a function where I will have a budget, because I've helped a lot of people run their function with budget. I thought I will run a function within the big bank, which is NetBank, and have a budget, and then take that budget and grow the bank. I had beautiful ideas about how we can digitalize the funeral space. And I reached out to a lot of mentors who are execs in my space. And all of them said, no, it's not going to happen. And this time, end of last year, I went for an interview. And they told me, you know what, you are just there. We can't make you an exec, but give it some time, we're going to make you an exec. And it's later when I realized that they picked somebody much more. I'm still young, I'm only 36, but they picked somebody who's much more younger than me. And this person was coming from audit, one of the consulting company, I think Ernst & Young. And he's got nowhere close to the experience that I have, does not have the product that I have. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, why am I still waiting for the bank to give me the go ahead? And that became a push for me to say, hang on a second, I've had so much experience in dealing with people. Let me just call them back and ask them to help me out. So one thing that I've had omitted in here is I do a lot of activity. One of those was heading up media and communication in our local church as Sentin Seventh Adventist. And we have cameras and everything else every weekend that, you know, we are, you know, ready. We go out live every Saturday. And, you know, you get exposed to people that we do this thing for free. It's the fruit, labor of love. When I got here in this space, what I'm trying to say is a lot of people, almost everybody, was willing to help me. I never had a website until 2-3 weeks ago. Now I have a website called beingananalyst.co.za. I couldn't even know what to put in there, but people were saying, let's just write down what we think you are giving us advice on. This is how we see you. I'm coming back to my revelation of today. All along, you're following my story, and that was what I was thinking until yesterday. But this morning, I have a realization that my product is not teaching people how to become analysts. My product is making myself available for people to tell me what they're going through and help them overcome what they're going through. Most of us, we're starting our businesses. That's why we come to the Yali Center to find other entrepreneurs. And some of you are willing to pay a fee just to be here, to mingle with other entrepreneurs who are like-minded. The same is true for people that I think you have seen the results and the news. I mean, the people in the gig economy, analysts are in high demand. And right now, because I can work for a US company, we can't, one of the projects that I was working on is how to solve attrition, because most of them are resigning. And it was costing us enough of 3.2 million a month for not having these people. When you go and you source an analyst, you're looking at placement fee of 15,000 with a 1 million rent salary. That's 150,000 just gone like that. It's a big problem that I thought my solution was to solve for that. Make people analysts so that we can give them to the banks. But I had it wrong. My product is being available so that people can access you. I'm telling you all of this because sometimes you think you have the product. You might have 1 or 2 clients. Sometimes you come back and you reflect and you're like, I've been selling the wrong thing. Every morning we can wake up and we have our normal routine like I normally have at work. I drop off the kids. 8 o'clock, I'm here. I have an espresso machine at home. I run the espresso machine. 9 o'clock, I'm already rock and rolling. Until 1 o'clock, I run meetings left, right, and center. That's just my work. And right now, since I'm on social media and stuff, I'm doing social media stuff. And tomorrow I'm going out to Welcome to do also some consulting work, which is another hat that I'm wearing at some hospital. I've never even worked in hospital, but based on my expertise, they're like, no, come consult with us. And you're reading all of these memos and you come back and you're like, yo, I'm killing it. People are liking my product. Later, you can realize that your product was the stepping stone. People were not really looking for that product. They were looking for something else. My mother's dabbled with a lot of products. And that's one thing that I would say. And she was a true entrepreneur. She didn't take the word. She just rather used the word hawker. But over some time, she would double from mini geysers. I'm sure none of you have ever heard about a mini geyser. The small little device that you put inside the bucket to heat up your water instead of using a kettle. She doubled from that to building curtains for people, to making jerseys for the school uniform for the people. She doubled with a lot of things. And all she was doing was running survival. That's why she was a hawker. But right now in this program, I'm sure you guys are not being taught how to survive. You are being taught how to scale. Her business could not scale. But right now, I'm coming back to a word that I had pinned, solopreneur. Solopreneur is not a hawker. There's a huge difference. Solopreneur is a person who works alone without employees as yet. Doesn't mean he doesn't have people that helps him. He just doesn't have employees on their payroll and is building a business that is scalable. Where does he get all the help? You're asking yourself. You contract people. I'm in the social media space now, 2 weeks old, permanently in the social media space. You make use of platforms like Fiverr. I don't know if that's how you spell it, where people list their skills. If you are running short of money, I think you've heard about this, you can list your skills there to say, listen, normally I'm a graphic designer. I own my own company as a graphic designer, but right now the work is not that much. You can list yourself there so that you can help other people with that small little, can you make me a poster? We have a speaker today, and you make a small little poster, and that's it. You just charge maybe 50 rands. Others will charge like 500 to 1,000 rand per job. So that's what you do. That's where you get your people. You can still also go into a contract like the work that I'm doing tomorrow. You sign an NDA, you sign a contract. The person that I'm working with used to be a CEO of 2 very prominent company. One was GEMS, which was is a medical aid, and another one was Road Accident Fund. I think if you're watching I Blew It, that's where everybody else get their money from. And he's coming back to me to say, listen, I'm also a solopreneur. Here's a contract signed here. We're going to consult and do the work. Once we are done, when the invoice comes, we split the money. And I'm trying to get to a point that as an entrepreneur, my understanding of what an entrepreneur looks like, from when I learned from the books that we are reading that are sometimes outdated, from what I'm hearing people talk about it on YouTube, to what I'm seeing right now, is totally different. An entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to have staff on your payroll. It makes you feel good that you have staff that you can shout at. Doesn't mean that you have to have an office and a fancy title. It feels good to have all of those things. It doesn't mean that you have to have an office or a little store that's filled up with stock. I know we love that, but it doesn't mean that. It doesn't even mean, number 2, that I know I'm going to be killed for this. It doesn't even mean that you have to innovate anything. All it says is you have a need and you're answering the need. And there, once an invoice go past, you are in business. As long as there's no invoice that crosses, you are not yet in business. You're still in idea generation mode. And I realize that most of you that are here are still in idea generation mode. Idea generation is if you're doing something, but you haven't gotten the return as yet. But I want to put a spanner in there because I'm in social media. When you are getting people's eyeballs, and now you're starting to get 700 subscribers, you can't say, because I haven't received an invoice, I'm not in business. Because you got 700 eyeballs that are watching your videos. Most of us are on Instagram or whatever. Once we change our fashion, unless if you're a lifestyle influencer, once you change that fashion and you turn it into a product, whether you're in real estate, you are selling real estate goods or so, once you turn that into a product that you are putting on social media, you are now in a different level because you are now tapping into social media marketing, which is a different. Sometimes we shoot ourselves on the value that we have as entrepreneur. When we go for a pitch, most people just say, hey, I have this idea, I haven't started. You say, no, you have an idea, you've tested it in your Instagram, in your TikTok for 7 years. And right now, that has shaped it into this product. And that's how, more or less, how I understand entrepreneurship right now. Sorry, Lana, before I go in for questioning, I just like to say the journey of being here is quite lonely. And I don't know what you guys have as your rock, but my family for me is a rock. I know I had to chuck them out so that initially I wanted to sit in the kitchen so that you can see the kids running up and down, but I set them in the bedroom so that you guys don't get disturbed. But my family, and especially my wife, who is still at work, she's still coming over. You know, life of an entrepreneur house is quite difficult, but she's still coming in. And those people are the ones that are my rock, because sometimes, especially if you are tapping into a business idea that you are unfamiliar about, like myself on social media, you need somebody very close to you who will tell you where to go. And that's why I shared about my family being around me, telling me that what I had with social, with websites, advertising, whatever, is not gonna work out. I need a storefront. All they did, they didn't give me a wrong idea. That's all they knew. But you have to actually, you heard about this all the time. You have to actually change your environment most of the time. So guys, I appreciate all the comments that are coming in. I'm reading all of them. I'm going to ask you one thing, just to give me confidence to be out there. Please go into my YouTube channel. Please click the subscribe button. If all 60 of us could subscribe, it will boost my ego. It will be a form of, you know, it will be more than the money that I was going to charge you guys to talk about this. I think always my fee is quite cheap. It is just exchanging the time. I just have to ask that we can talk with the kids jumping up and down. But the link is on the chat if you want that. For now, I'm just gonna open up question and answers. I know I spoke a little bit longer, but I tried to give you guys context to say sometimes what you're trying to sell might not be what you ultimately end up selling. Information, it is a good product. I don't know by show of hands, if we can just do a Q&A. Okay, I see a hand. I don't know who wants to go in. Otherwise, I can keep on talking forever. Okay, thank you for those that have subscribed. Thank you very much. I try to share little bits of what it looks like in the boardroom. Some of the things that I might say other people might not take it into consideration is, especially if you are working with Exco, these people read memos daily. And I think this will be quite valuable information for you guys that are writing pitches. These people read a lot daily. Nobody wants to see a PowerPoint presentation. That's why I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. People want to hear people being authentic. And how do you become authentic if you are not there in a PowerPoint presentation? You can use mixed media. I love video. You can use video to attach to your memo. But if you give out 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that are top of mind, before you start with the whole presentation, you would have saved them a long time. For those who studied, you remember when you write your dissertation, the first thing that you write is an abstract. Don't waste us time. Tell us what the abstract is. After we like your abstract, then we'll go to your conclusion. We're not going to be reading your methodology or stuff like that. We're going to be reading your abstract and we go into your conclusion. So when you go out and you write memos for these people, you have to do one thing. You have to make sure that your English is simple to understand. Paragraphs are quite small. 5-line paragraph. I don't know if we got the same education from school. 5-line paragraphs. Do not repeat the opening word more than 3 times. If you say I, first sentence, I, second sentence, you can't say I, the third sentence. You have to use another word in that paragraph. You can say I on to the next paragraph. So those are the things that we are sharing on how you can shape up your documentation so that it can create impact. One thing that I also want to talk about is misinformation. And as an entrepreneur, I want you to be very wary about misinformation and to be able to, sift the, what did I say, the wheat from the chaff. Because most of the people will tell you something and you go around there and you go in with this mindset that, oh, this is how it's supposed to be done, only to find out that they were saying that to sell their books or to sell their course. Because I'm quite heavy on academia, I always try to sift that first. Just because people have bought into the pyramid scheme, it doesn't mean that you can also go join into the pyramid scheme. When I was still young, I think 2009 or 2010, I had a friend who wanted me to join one of those that were a pyramid scheme. And I could easily find out that, no, this doesn't make sense. And I was saying, you can make 20, 30,000 a month from this scheme. And I could easily find out that this is not it. But what they did is they sent me to a wonderful place with loud music, and you get sold. Say, maybe I should invest my money into this. But I'm trying to say, make your research a little bit. And I'm going to share something quickly before everybody else unmutes. The thing that I want to share is, how do you know when to make a quick decision, and how do you know when to make a slow decision? I'm just gonna easily illustrate this. I hope you can see me because on my side, it looks like the video is frozen. You make a quick decision if you know that if you make the decision, there's a door for you to come back from that decision. I'll make an example. I already know that I have too many degrees. I am in high demand. People are linking me on, sending me a message on LinkedIn to say they are looking for somebody like me. I know that if I jump and become an entrepreneur, there's always a route back to become what I was or even better. So for that, you don't have to wait for the decision. You can resign today and start a new business. You make a slow decision. If you make the decision, there's no door coming back. If you realize that there's no door coming back, then you take your time to make that decision. This is quite important when people are telling you about the pyramid schemes. That one that needs you to invest in it, they'll always tell you to make a quick decision. I'm telling you, anybody that says make a quick decision, you must take the slow decision. Don't think about it, put it away. Sometime when you are running or you're walking a dog or you are at the gym, it will come back and the line will cross and you'll say, this is not a business, this is nonsense. I've been asked many a times to leave my job and go join other small businesses so that I can help them grow, but I did not, and I don't regret it. So I don't know if there's any other questions.
Yeah. Fantastically, Simon, fantastic. We are with you. We appreciate that wisdom. A couple of questions from the chat. What has been your greatest pain point, and what has been your greatest achievement in your entrepreneurship journey so far? That's number one. Number two, an entrepreneur, as an intrapreneur, how do you manage work-life balance? I have heard some people say that you will have to eat, sleep, and drink, work. The third one, what advice will things, I can't read that one properly. What advice do you have for a business that's more than 6 years old and not growing or changing? So those three: number one, entrepreneurship, your greatest achievements and failures, your pain points and opportunities. Then thirdly, work-life balance. As an entrepreneur, somebody has heard that you eat, work, sleep, work, drink, work. Over to you. Yeah.
I like to start with the work-life balance because we normally get that one wrong.
Okay, leaders, while we wait for our speaker and presenter tonight. I just wanted to quickly check in with everybody on behalf of Ms. Lana to just check what were your top takeaways. Let's share those top takeaways. If we can, let's post them in the chat, and if we are able to speak, let's unmute and speak. We've got a few minutes more to go. Your top takeaways from tonight's masterclass. Let's hear very quickly what those are. Thank you, Ms. J. Thank you, Ms. Lana, for those updates. Appreciate them. Thank you. You are what people pay you to be. You are what people pay you to be. Very interesting. You are what people pay you to be. Very interesting. Any other? Entrepreneurship is not always about having a product. That's interesting. Okay, when you make a decision, make it slow and quick. All right? Okay, family, you've got to have family. You've got to have family, all right? Thank you so much. The business you intend to start must evolve as you develop it, as you learn more about the market and the gaps in it. Sometimes you may think you have a product, but unfortunately you may not. Okay? Sometimes we're starting. They need to know clearly what your product is. Right. Okay, those are interesting takeaways, very interesting takeaways. Yeah, you don't always have to be innovative to start. Okay, was really finding your niche. Sometimes you are not selling people what they need, find that and capitalize on it. Excellent, excellent stuff. Right. Excellent stuff. All right, so we got about 10 takeaways. Little is big, small is beautiful, take calculated. I doubt I had any. Okay, entrepreneurship is not all about survival, but necessarily ability to scale. Oh, wow. Now we are getting quotes out of people's heads. Fantastic, thank you. You have a need to work. You have a need, work on the need, right? Okay, interesting, right? Okay, interesting views. Thank you, leaders. Interesting views. Okay, we've got 10 minutes to go. Let's hope and see we get somebody. Bento, mute yourself. Okay, listen, please take it away. I think some updates were loading on your computer given there's a new client giving you $2 million for consulting.
No worries, no worries. As part of that, I think I'm also helping. I'm quite passionate about, there's a book by Ntatebona Mohale. I like it so much. So as part of the Black Management Forum, he calls it Lift as You Rise. And I think I'm one of those that if you have to do it in my kitchen, I can do it as long as I'm sharing my ideas with other people. There's no point of us getting on top of the mountain and you are all alone in there. Sorry, if you allow me just to finish up the point, I think I think maybe you've had my work-life balance when I said use the time that you have. And when you take something that you wanna using the word, if you wanna hustle on something, make sure that it's something that interests you. Like for instance, on my side, I'm quite passionate about people development. So being an analyst is something that doesn't cost me anything. Just like this compensation, it doesn't drain any. I don't have to make 50-page presentation so that I have to remember all my words. Second one, biggest pain point, I think finding out that people around me, especially family, are not all, they don't know everything was the biggest shocker to me. Advice for business that has been in place for 6 years. What I'm gonna say to you is you've had revelations before about what you should be offering, but you are not offering. And that's why I started with that conversation earlier on today. And I said, all along, I thought people wanted me to talk about them being entrepreneurs. not entrepreneurs, them being analysts. But in actual sense, people just wanted me to talk about how did I get there. The how is much more important than the what. So in this case, I would say, I don't know what are you selling currently. If I'm assuming that you are doing website designs, which was quite common as I was still in Velcom. Sorry, if you are doing website designs, right now it is so easy with Shopify, with Wings, for people to open up their own website. Even Google is offering that website. You no longer have the niche. And I know right now you might be confined by the name that you have picked, and all the people around you have said, yes, they want you to offer that services and you're quite happy with it. But I think at one point you are missing what the people are telling you that they are buying compared to the people that are just telling you for your ears to feel good. You have to look internally and be honest with what you are offering. And that's where I think your growth will come in. By the way, we've done that for the bank, and we were able to do massive growth within the bank. When I joined in 2016, when I joined the IT business, we used to have a budget of 3 billion for IT. And when I left in 2021, our budget for the year was 7 billion. So you can just see right there, even within the bank, that when you are offering the need, your budget grows. And I always use the word entrepreneur, because entrepreneur I've learned within the technology space, the group technology space, that people are selling their ideas to commercialize. The idea which was commercialized by one person, and they gave him a small 50 million rand budget, smallest budget. And with that budget, he was able to launch Evo, and COVID happened. And right now that person is being made a chief information officer. Now, no longer responsible. The predecessor was running a 3 billion rand business. Now he's saying comfortably, I'm running a more than 7 billion rand business. You can just see the size of that budget when President Cyril Ramaphosa goes and say, I'm going to spend 1 billion for COVID relief, and the whole country goes crazy. We're talking about somebody else who employs only 4,000 people and runs a 7 times the size of that COVID relief. 7 billion rand budget. All of this because, yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, we want to put you on the spot in the last 5 minutes. 3 questions. Number one.
That's terrible, eh? Go ahead.
Number one, I have 3 questions for you on behalf of all the entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs on the call. Number one, you've worked with so many people, so many corporations, and achieved so much, both, I will call it on and off the stage, right? So your takeaways there, the 3 fundamental governing principles that you think every young person on this call should know. That's number one. Number two, if you're not in it for the money, why should you be in it? Number 3, why must we all exist either as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs? Take it away. You've got 5 minutes.